Any words of introduction from you, Mary?
Yep. Muslims who are already saying, "Oh, we're going to correct you. We're going to correct you." You will have time to come up today. I am planning on doing 2 hours on topic, and we're going to get however far we get, and then we're going to open it to Muslims for about an hour. And if Lorenzo comes back and doesn't just call me names in the chat, then he can come up because I actually owe him some off-topic time. But other than that, I would prefer on topic, and only if we have no one who wishes to engage with the topic will we have off topic, except for me owing Lorenzo some time because he had internet connections one day. Okay. So, and I am going to do something new. I am going to start out by reading from some source very briefly that's completely unrelated to the topic at hand, but has something interesting or important that I believe that people should hear. This time, I'm going to start by reading from a book called The Land of the Veiled Women, Some Wanderings in Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco, which was from the earliest 20th century, in between the two wars. There are many travelogues written by people who visited these areas when they first really opened up to the ability to have safe tourism and so on under colonial rule. And so now I'm going to read about women in a particular town of Algeria, I believe called Bou Saada. It's still a town there. You can look it up. And this is what he says. Kept in seclusion, languorous and without exercise, it is natural that the thought and life of an Arab woman should be sensuous. Flat roofs adjoin flat roof, and it is possible to journey over half of Bou Saada, that's the town, by the roofs. An unforgivable offense is for a man to look from his own roof upon the roof of his neighbor. For here the ladies gather and sit unveiled. But human nature is the same in Bou Saada as elsewhere, and sometimes glances are exchanged. The very difficulty of an intrigue makes it all the more ravishing. All the more a ravishing pastime with the passionate Arab, and the woman, trained from her earliest girlhood on lascivious stories and amorous poetry, runs risks. Now, when a husband returns home and notices a pair of red slippers before the door of his wife's room, he knows that a lady's visitor is within and he must not enter. Therefore, the placing of red slippers at the door is one of the devices adopted by women who would deceive their spouses. Indeed, you hear stories of lovers visiting their ladies dressed as women. So easy is disguise if the man is not too tall and adopts the waddling walk of Arab women. Should the husband suspect, especially if the visitor departs by the housetop, which is not unusual, he watches or sets a spy to work. Then some night an Arab is mysteriously murdered in one of the dark alleys. So here is an account of how the wonderful, secluded, veiled, and virtuous women of Islam previously lived. And this traveler notes with quite a lot of shock the amount of extremely graphic stories that were exchanged. And if you guys want to read some, 1001 Arabian Nights, I thought it would be something that you could just, I was a middle schooler when I bought it on a very long vacation, because it's a huge brick, right? It's like this big. I'm like, oh, I'll just read this because I've read Andrew Lang's 1001 Nights. It'll be more like fairy tales. No, it's many, many very, very, very graphic stories. And I was quite shocked. However, I had nothing else to read, so I read the whole thing. So you can read that translation, and you can see the kinds of stories and the kinds of details that children are grew up with in these societies at that time. All right.
And we got a quick comment here from Houston Euler. You can trade some points in for double the number of Hori promised by Christian Heaven. Yeah. You can trade in as many points for as many doubling up of your Christian Horis as you want. I have a feeling it'll come out with the same number, though. Just a thought.
Yeah, Gabriel, I'm afraid that you would have to sneak over Gabriel says that he's 6'2", 270 pounds, or they 6 foot, 270 pounds. I'm afraid that you would have to actually sneak over the rooftops, because I think you would be too tall to pass as one of the women.
And apparently you must be rich because you read 1001 Nights, which we all know costs thousands of dollars to buy, right?
No, she thinks I'm rich because we went on vacations. My family's already
Oh,
camping
okay. I'm
vacation.
glad. I'm glad you got why you're rich. I actually didn't get
Yeah,
it. Uh, that would only be your. Even if you were rich, that meant your parents were rich. It wouldn't mean you are. But lots of
yeah.
families sacrifice so that their kids can have nice vacations, and parents don't
I,
buy anything for themselves. So you don't have to be rich to
yeah.
go on a
Well, I mean,
vacation.
we had a little pop up trailer for years and years, and it let mosquitoes in, and there was a particularly catastrophic trip that was our last trip at that pop up. But and that one was inherited from grandparents before we could afford to have a pop up of our own. Um, but yeah,
And
no, no, definitely not rich.
so Nur was not paying attention and would like the name of the source for
Okay,
the
the
story you
source
just
is
read.
once again In the Land of the Veiled Women is the name of the book, and it's a travelogue, very popular at that time. You can read the entire thing on Google Books. It's because it's out of copyright. I like looking at really old books because a lot of things did not change an enormous amount in Islamic society from the time of Muhammad to the early 20th century. There were changes, but they were not huge. So you can you can still see a lot of the same things in both of those. Ha! Yes, I do live in a beautiful building with incredible stained glass windows here.
Yeah, I mean, you like bought a whole church just to do your YouTube streams. So,
Clearly, clearly. Uh,
all right, I'm going to go ahead and pull up your presentation here.